Hey guys, Coach Bricks, Coach James, the game changers. Hey, I want to talk about something. So we have this whole thing going on. I mean, it happens in every probably realm of education, every single profession, but strength coaches, okay? So you have this wave of people that are coming in with different ideas, different thought process than the old school mentality of lift as heavy as you possibly can, run as much as you possibly can, and then you should be fine, okay? And why I did that for years, I mean, I'll be the first guy to tell you, we back squat, power clean, deadlift, all this kind of stuff, right? I started to see things different, all right? I started to see other people pop up with different ideas. And I think where a lot of strength coaches, especially out there, that say, well, there's no science behind it. I'm gonna get into that science part. So just give me a second coming back to that. I don't think people understand that you gotta look at taking certain things that people talk about and saying, okay, can I take and extract something from that will work? I might not agree with everything they do, but at the end of the day, there's certain things that I do take. And I'll be one for you, 6, 7 years ago, I forget when I did it, maybe less than that, I don't know, was GOATA. I went down, studied under those guys, did a course over a weekend or 4 days or something like that, and I had a great time, and it taught me a lot. Do I agree 100% with everything? No. But do I take a lot of stuff out that helped me out greatly when it came to my hip and back and stuff like that? 100%. I'm not gonna lie to anybody. That helped me out more than the heavy lifting crap that everybody was telling me to always to do. So I took parts of that. Then you look at like knee over toes guys, you look at these guys. You don't have to agree with everything they do, because some of the stuff does get outrageous. You're like, okay, hold on there, buddy. But can you take something out of that and develop a program based on some of the old school stuff and also mitigate with this stuff? Because here's what science is, and let me get back to this point, the science part. Science always trails what's going on. And how do we know that? There was a guy named Victor Conte, and anybody knows back in the days of the Olympics, back in the mid 2000, 2010, somewhere around there, Victor Conte ran a place out in California. I forget the name of the company that he ran, but it was an underground pretty much, hey, we offer supplements and vitamins and things like that, but they were also doing steroids, okay? And some of the Olympic athletes got busted for that. Marion Jones was one, she was one of the big ones. Montgomery, guys like this. And he was caught, and the whole thing, I think it was Balco Labs, if I'm not mistaken. The whole thing got taken under. And Conte said something that I think nobody really picked up on. I think some people did, but not a lot of people, but they never really thought about it. He said, I would be the best guy to run the drug testing in the Olympics. And they never took him up on it. And I always thought, why? Because he said something even earlier than that. He said, here's the reason why. Every single drug that comes out is always ahead of the test. I can't make a test for a drug that hasn't come out yet, correct? So the drugs are always going to be ahead. So they're always 2 to 3 years ahead. Then we find out, oh, here's a drug. This is how we test for it. So you already get away with it. Now they freeze those samples. Science is the same exact way. Science sometimes takes a long time to catch up. Such as let's go back to the virus of 2020. Okay, we all were told that the vaccine was safe, correct? All came out, it was safe, effective, all this kind of stuff, right? We're finding out now all the problems that it actually is causing. This is 5 years after the fact. So if you took the vaccine, now you're learning about it, that you're now at a higher risk of myocarditis and all these other things that are going on, okay, with all these studies. That's the problem with science. It always takes time to catch up. So stuff that people are blasting right now might be the way that actually is the most beneficial in the long run. Now you say, well, squats have always been proven to be this, and deadlifts have always been proven. No, they haven't. We just assume that because that's what we've always been taught. Such as I always ask people, how much weight do I need to be a great athlete? And I ask these strength coaches, all right, these guys that promote this stuff. How much strength do I need? Okay, I did 330. I run like a gazelle. I jump higher than anything. Should I go to 400, 450, 500? What do I need to get? That's the question, but nobody ever answers that. Very few people actually answer that. Just keep stacking more and more on, 'cause it's all about numbers. So when we get to this old school mentality and they want to knock the new stuff, okay, it's just because, in my opinion, they don't want to look at anything else. Well, this has always been proven to work. We're looking at a society different than we've ever done before. This society sits more than it ever has before. So what people did back in the 80s and 70s and 60s when they were doing that stuff, they were active. Let's look at the NFL guys. A lot of those guys were still working manual jobs and playing in the NFL. These guys, they don't gotta do crap. They're making millions of dollars. They go home and play video games all the time. Okay? So they're more broken now in the sense of Yes, they might still do some of that stuff, but they wonder why they're broken. If they're doing those things, they shouldn't be broken. So you have to look at man today and have to look, is that stuff still working without the activity outside of what they used to do? So kids, prime example, nobody free plays anymore, or very few people, okay? That's what kept you active. That's what kept you moving. So you add these exercises in. I'm already doing all these crazy plyometrics and stuff. We didn't call them plyometrics. We were skipping and jumping off things. We were doing plyos. I didn't need to do extra plyos. I needed to, do some lifting, okay, to build strength. Great. I do that stuff. Now it applies, and I'm all in there because I'm still doing it. These kids of today don't do that. The only time they get their plyometrics in is probably if they go to a trainer or they go to the school and actually has a comparable, a coach that understands these things that can add them into the workout. If not, they're not getting that. So you have to look at the individual of today. It's not what it was 20, 30, 40 years ago. It's a devolved person. Man is devolved today. Okay, it just is. I don't know why. It's because of our lifestyle. Our lifestyle has become too comfortable, and I say it all the time. So when we knock the new waves, I'm not saying all of them are right. I'm not saying everything they say is right. But you have to look at those things and be like, okay. And I don't need a scientific study all the time either. That's what everybody says. Where's your scientific study? Okay, let's look at how God made us. Let's look at that. Do we want to go that? Where's the scientific study in that? Let's look at that. Okay, were we not hunters and gatherers? Do you think we sat for 8 hours of a day? How do you think we rested? We laid down and we squatted in a low squat position. Not a squat of a barbell on my back. I got down and sat in a squat position. That's how we squatted, and that's how we took rest. Laid down and squatted, because I didn't have chairs, I didn't have tables, I didn't have that stuff. So when you add these things in, now all of a sudden you change the makeup of the human body. The human body then has to be adapt, and it doesn't always adapt the correct way if we're not going to feed it the right way, but we need to do those things. So we have to look at these things that are coming out and not just bashing them right off the bat, looking at them and taking them into account. Okay, can I apply that? Does that actually make sense? Okay, and then dive deeper into it. Just knocking it right off the bat just blows my mind. Just blows my mind. And I was like that one time too, so I'm not, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus because I was there one time too. And then I started looking at things. And like I said, go to help me out, great. I will admit that, okay? Like I said, 100% of everything? No. But there's a lot of things that I took from that and actually have benefited myself and a lot of my other athletes. Do we do other things as well? 100%. I'm not stuck into one pattern, okay? But I've taken stuff now with the fascia stuff. I've been doing that for a long time, okay, studying that. That has helped me out. I don't do things until I actually do it myself. I don't give them to somebody until I do it myself. And Coach James will know. I don't do that stuff. I look at things. I try them on myself. Does it work? Does it not? Okay, I'm not going to throw that out. Boom, we're going to go to the next thing, figure it out. And that's what we should be doing in this field. But for some reason, some of the old guard, man, they're up, man, and they're all like, you got to do power cleans. You got to do squats. You got to. If you're not, you're soft. Okay, I understand that certain things you want to do, but you have to look at the reality of today, and that's what we don't do. We do not do that. I don't care what anybody says. The strength coach of today very rarely looks at what a human should be now and what they should be, okay? Two totally different things. Our environment, okay, and the softness and the comfortability has changed dramatically from this time, but our DNA has not. Our makeup has not. So when we do that, we jack everything up, thinking that we need to do the same things as back then. It just doesn't work because we're not the same type of people because of how we changed in our adaptation process the wrong way, in my honest opinion, okay, because we devolved way too much, but now we have to get that back. So what do you see, Coach James? I think you're more in the profession right now, younger part than when I was. What do you see going on?
So I know we had mentioned this before, like I grew up with all the lifting, doing a lot of the same stuff. When we ran our high school program, when I was at York Catholic, we did a lot of the same stuff with our Olympic lifts and a lot of that stuff. And I know now I really don't touch any of that stuff. We'll do our heavier strength training, different stuff like that. But one of the things I think we do a really good job here is, like you mentioned, taking those bits and pieces of all those different programs and then testing it on yourself first. And I'm typically the first guinea pig after that, hey James, give this a try. Let me know if this works, and if we need to change something off that, maybe it doesn't work exactly how we expected, we can change that. And we know, okay, we know it works for this area. Okay, this athlete comes in with this similar problem. All right, let's see if it works for them. And we know, okay, it didn't work for them. How can we change it to maybe different things that we can add on top of that? We do a really good job, I think, of that, of adding all those different aspects of all the different training styles.
Yeah.
We'll have our athletes that we still have a couple heavy strength
Yeah.
exercises. Then we'll do the stuff, more of our fascia stuff that we've gotten into with a lot of our exercises. We'll do our go-to stuff. We'll do all these different aspects and training styles to make all those athletes a more well-rounded athlete, rather than, all right, our athlete can squat 500 pounds, but he can't do anything else except squat 500 pounds.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the great things that I think we do here. And seeing how, especially how I used to do all my lifting versus how I do now.
Yeah.
I know the one thing that we added with our fascia stuff, not that I was like every single day, but like I haven't had back pain since adding our one exercise in probably a month now.
Yep.
And it was like every now and then I might feel something, but adding those things, and it's like you see athlete today said the exact same thing, that we added the one exercise in a couple weeks ago and didn't even have to tell him about doing it this morning, and he just went straight over. And before he even started, he's like, dude, since I started doing this exercise, my back's felt great. I haven't had any problems. We're like, same thing that we just talked about in our one video, that adding something feels good. If something's working, why stop it? If it's been working, keep doing it. Add it to that part of our routine. And I think that's one of the things that has been great to see with a lot of those athletes, that when we add those things and see it actually work.
Yeah, and I think that's important, because I think that's where we miss. I'm not against lifting heavy. I think every human being should be strong as an ox. I'm not saying huge, it's a difference, okay? Because I think sometimes we get this mentality that we have to be this massive person. That's not how humans were meant ever to be, okay? And I'll argue with you till the day you die. That's not how we work. We're supposed to be extremely strong, agile, bouncy, as I call it, mobile, all that kind of stuff. Huge, not really sold on that one, because that doesn't make any sense when it comes to a hunter and gatherer style person, or a person who's going to war. You got to be able to cover massive amounts of distance. But we do heavy lifting here and here. We do heavy sleds, we do heavy things like that. But then we also incorporate all the other things. And I think that's where so many people get so bogged down, is they get stuck in their one stop and they can't get out of it. Where I constantly try to adapt to understand what's going on. Because my whole thing is, they're going to be done with sports at some point in their life, playing these sports. They're not going to be done with life for a lot longer after that. You play sports, organized sports, for a very short period of your life. You have to live a hell of a lot longer after that. And if you're all broken because of all the crap that you've done, strength-wise and technique-wise and all that stuff that was supposed to, make you better, if that's breaking you apart, then there's something going on with that program. There's something really seriously wrong that we're doing in this field. So this is my opinion, okay? You can come at me all you want, I'm cool with that, but let's have a discussion on that. Why are you so hell-bent on that's the only way to do everything, and not open your eyes to other things? Because we do crazy stuff outside. I don't see many people ever want to come and join us. We have our core group that comes. We pick up logs, pick up stones, do all that stuff. I'm all into that stuff. I think that's huge. That's how the human body was meant to do. So we do that kind of stuff as well. So we're not just, they just do these things where they stand on a bow shoe ball and just dance around. No, we don't do that at all. We do a lot of things that function how the human body's made. So let me know your opinion, guys. Have yourself a blessed day. This is Coach Bricks,
Coach James.
the Game Changers.